So tens of thousands of people turned out at women's marches across the country on Saturday to protest strict new abortion laws, including the one in Texas, to Yamisha's point. Joining us now, founder and CEO of All In Together, Lauren Leader, with new polling on the impact the Texas abortion law could have on next year's midterms. Lauren, what did you find?
Well, exactly what Yamish just said, that in fact, the big question has been whether SB 8, the abortion bill in Texas, would be a motivator for pro-choice voters, for Democratic voters across the board. And what we found definitively is that it absolutely is. Overall, there is a big gap in focus and enthusiasm for the election next year between Republicans and Democrats. Republicans up about 10 points higher in terms of motivation to vote. But then when you look at specifically how the abortion bill affects voters, you see it drives a huge level of enthusiasm among Democratic women and even among younger women voters, which has been a big question, whether or not this would be a galvanizing issue. And then overall, we found that if Roe v. Wade is to be overturned next spring in that Supreme Court term, that it is, in fact, something that will be so vastly motivating to a plurality of voters on the Democratic side, it could be enough to make the difference in the midterms next year. So it's fascinating, this huge, significantly more enthusiasm on the Republican side for the midterms overall. But yet this abortion issue, even though voters don't necessarily rank it as their top issue for the election, it does have a huge effect on enthusiasm, motivation, and commitment to turn out for the midterms, which is everything.
Hard to tell, though, what actually happens at the polls. But something like this, Lauren, do you think could even motivate people who might have been a little bit apathetic, who might not have been voting, to actually get out and vote?
Right. And I think that's actually where this becomes really interesting. Younger women overall seem to be less interested in the midterms until you ask them the question about abortion rights. And then you see this big surge in commitment to vote, commitment to turn out. That's going to be key. That was absolutely fundamental to the Democrats winning in 2020. It made a huge impact in 2018 for the midterms. Women, suburban women, younger women turning out. It always makes a difference. But, I think Joe was right. The farther away from fundamental rights women perceive themselves, the more fired up and motivated they are to get to the polls. That is not going to be great news for the Republicans, even given the advantages that they go into this midterm election with.
Lauren Leader, thank you very much for being on this morning. Yamiche Alcindor, Eugene Daniels, thank you both as well. And on tomorrow's show, we're going to be